Hey guys, welcome to the woods. You like how I always do that? Just gotten to be a habit. It's like, okay, now I know I'm start. Sort of like click with the when you're making a movie. All right, there we go. I don't always talk with my hands so much either. Something about being tuned in for these conversations that my hands start going wild. I don't know. It's a thing. So, all right. I was thinking about, I feel I have this inner turmoil, very, very subtle, because I'm really onto the subtle nuances of who I really am and what's the perfection of my little quirks. And so I have this little quirk where I feel a little bit like, at all costs, don't push anything on anybody. Like I can never do one of those multi-level marketings because I feel like I'm pushing something on somebody. And then when I had the automotive business, you'd think I was selling things to people, but I never was really pushy about selling anything. And I didn't even work the front desk. That was my last job. I hated that job. So I worked on the cars and hung out in the shop and, worked on the vibe of the business, but you don't have to do that from the front desk where you're seeing people every day. I was with my staff and everything else, so I'm not around people. But I get my batteries charged by being by myself. And it's always been that way. So I think that's a big piece of how I got where I am, which is what the title of this story is. I just made that up, but it feels right. It is like how I got where I am, because not many people, nobody, really wants to pull it out of me. Like, what did you do? Because no one's ever been like, it's like the frog in the pot of hot water. Frog will jump immediately out of a pot of hot water, but if the water warms up slowly with the frog in it, he'll die. He'll let it overheat. He'll never say, oh, now it's too hot. So anyway, that's hopefully a good analogy for this point relating to me. And I've just incrementally changed throughout my life. It wasn't any really big moment, but I will say a couple years ago when I set things down and I really made an intention to say, I'm going to take on less. And I'm going to see if I can accomplish more by doing less. And all those things that have been told to me for, 40 years. 40 years ago, I was reading all about that and into the new age, lingo and all that type of stuff. And Edgar Cayce, I always got to give him props. I read all of his stuff about origin and destiny of man, who was Jesus really, and all kinds of reinterpretations of my past that society was putting out there as a model. It's like, oh, even aliens. He talked about that. He talked about what humans were like on the planet, way before we ever thought they were here, or think they were ever here, and what some of the things that they did. And he didn't like reincarnation, but yet they brought reincarnation. He came, in his trance. Long story. If you want to read his story, it's interesting. But anyway, in a trance, he has this ability, but he was told by his higher self to use this ability. He had all kinds of miraculous things happen in his life, but anyway, he came in with a gift, same as musicians do, same as everyone does. Come in with a gift. Some people just put it out there and are really driven to put it out there. They're born with an inner drive to put it out there. And I think we need to, that didn't sound right. It would be fun if you just made it your life's purpose to figure out what's that inner drive, desire to be. Who is the biggest version of Dan Hicks that I could imagine? And who's the biggest version of who you can imagine? And that's going to develop and morph, and in time it'll change and things like that. But I found there was threads of who I see myself coming and who I've already been. I see threads of that all through my life and through my past, and I remember them. And I just know if I'm just going with a little hunch and a little feeling, I feel more towards this than that. And you just follow those for a while, and you're like, yeah, that pretty much, you're right. That feels the most comfortable version of who I am today and who I'm going to be. It's very believable and very big. And that's all of the ingredients you need. But I see that there's a process where if you think of yourself as less than, unworthy, unable, uncommitted, whatever other ways you beat on yourself about things, And because mostly it's people telling you to do something, or you're trying to please someone. Maybe they're not even telling you, but you're trying to please them, chasing someone, or someone's chasing you. And in the middle of all that, of course, you're going to feel funky about yourself. But we got to break through that. We came from a paradigm of our ancestors that were really brutal to each other, you know? And there wasn't much about building the inner connection to source energy. There was nothing about that. But that's, remember my stories about going around the galaxy, I got to bring it in every time. But that 24,000 year journey, there's a point where it's really tricky to be tuned in, tapped in, turned on, and to know who you really are, and to feel and sense the energy ball that we really are. But we're coming out of that dark ages, and now we're getting a much more sensitivity. And so what I'm talking about now, I'm talking to you about it because it's easier now. And it's what's for dinner. It's why we're here, especially this particular year on this planet, in this part of the galaxy. This is what we're here for right now. So, what's how to do it? I know what I've done, and I know how to do it when I work with people individually. And I've had some success here and there, but the only success you really ever have is what a person feels worthy of, and what a person commits to, and what a person decides to do. So the ones who want to run with this, I hardly had to do anything, and they just are running. And the ones who don't want to run, I can put all the love, attention on them I want. They don't want to get up. They're not going to get up because they just think this stuff is all judgment. And if you go inside and you take time and you put down all the busyness, because the busyness is just a distraction. It's like a drug addiction. There's no logical reason for everybody to be so busy. Just back off a little bit, lean back, and somebody will catch you. Just sit down. It's amazing how people sit down and then they're still alive. None of my friends have died. But everyone would have thought if the economy went backwards 1/10 of 1 iota, I'd be in a big mess. Like I'm living in quicksand. But people come along, I come along to people in quicksand, and I'm like, you want a hand? You coming out? No, apparently not. And you just walk on by. And that seems like a weird analogy and probably kind of harsh, but it's what we all do. You can't bring someone else up who has a bad sense of self and is blaming and is bitter at the world. They have to come out of that. But you know when they're blaming and they're bitter, that's a habit. It's just a mindset. It's just a pattern of thinking. And you're just going to attract more and more of that misery because no one wants to work with you. No one wants to pay you to do anything. They'd pay to not have you in their midst. So you get pushed aside and you just go further and deeper into your little hole. But that's that direction. No one who's listening to this video is doing that. But you get a feel for that direction compared to this other direction. Okay? And just know that you're more down there than you think. So you're trying to go up because up is an endless journey. That's why I like to play with the analogy that you're trying to get away from fear vibration, but not with a vengeance, you know? It's just let it go. It's just not necessary. But what is exciting is if you can create a practice where you're spending some time throughout the day. Like I have a segment in the morning, I usually wake up and then I'm up for an hour or so on average, and then I go back to sleep, and then I'm up again for another hour or so. I got at least 2 hours, 2 different blocks in the middle of the night. Well, like 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock. And then, you know, walking in the woods first thing. And then a little bit of work. Well, just a lot of liquids all day. And then mostly all fruit. Definitely fruit all day. And then some meat, you know, whatever for dinner. I just try to be as healthy as I can and adapt to the people around me. But I can control breakfast and lunch. I don't really do breakfast, but it's lunchtime and mid-afternoon. I do, and then dinner, and then that's it. And that's helpful. Diet's not everything. Exercise, got to be less of it. It's one thing you can put down. You know, the whole practice of yoga only erupted out of the people sitting and meditating, pursuing this practice that I'm going to talk to you about. They sat on pillows in an ashram up in the mountains all day, but it doesn't take that long anymore. It's very easy, but you can get to that same point. You can take their sense of their vibration and their sense of love, and you can put it out on the street now. So you can just walk with this and be a normal guy, but everything you get is what you've dreamt of, and everything you dream of you get. It's nice. But it doesn't seem like a whole lot really changes because not much needs to change for that to happen. Very slight little bit. then you just get into that zone where you feel so comfortable and you feel so appreciated and so worthy and so loved and so loving that you don't put limiters on yourself and you start dreaming bigger. And then you're like, oh, when you're dreaming really big and you're living really big, you don't waste a lot of time watching, the presidential debates, let alone the presidential ones. I didn't see either one of them, but just the vibe from around the people is a little bit, I know I don't want to be part of that. There's no point in it. It's no different than a football game. You can watch a football game, sure. I watch plenty of football games. It's like when people want to get together, so that's all fine. I guess that's what's happening with watching the presidential debates too. But you can't get tangled up in it though. People get tangled up in it. So I'm getting off course a little bit. What would you want to focus on? Remember we were talking about don't go to the dark side, go to the upside. Creating a practice, I think, is mission critical part 1. You got to take some time and understand how and learn about how this stuff works, where the new sciences are. The Dr. Joe Dispenza, I've mentioned him before. There's a bunch of other scientists. What's the other guy? Raymer or something, maybe. Nah, that's a different guy. Anyway, I'll get that to you. But Edgar Cayce's got really good stuff. It's a little bit dated. It's a little bit tricky to read. It was really, earth-shattering at its time. And it's still earth-shattering, really, because most of the stuff we still haven't really figured out. Like, he was always big on body pH. And he would say, like, if you're acidic, you'll catch viruses, colds, and things like that from other people because you're acidic and so you're susceptible. And it's like, a petri dish or a rock. Did the virus land on a rock or did the virus land on a petri dish? A petri dish is an acidic body. When you go alkaline, the acid, it kills it. So the virus can't live in an alkaline environment. But that's a little tricky. But you know what? One of the big tricky parts about the acid-alkaline thing? Stress, acid producing. Non-stress, alkaline producing. So you can do all the diet and all the medicines you want, but nothing seems to make sense. Because what's really going on? It's your energetic sense of self and fear that pulls you into the acidic side. And the alkaline side is the feeling abundant, feeling loved, feeling unrestricted, feeling unconditional. And appreciating gratitude of everything that's around you. Whoa. I'm on a precarious hill here. But anyway. What else can I say about that? Really? All right, to that practice. Let's get some more things ironed out. So you want to learn about what's going on. Just turn off everything that's sports and politics and all the happenings and the runnings of the planet, which we think we need, like, all this stuff to help us be humans because we're not really humans. Why aren't we humans? Because we're not connected. We're not connected to source energy. And if you're not connected, you're not plugged in, you're a sleepwalker. And most of the planet is sleepwalking, for sure. I mean, you can always see the people sleeping below you, but you can't usually see your own sleeping, and you can't really then know anything above you. But I tell you, most everybody is sleepwalking, at least a majority of their day. Everyone has times of, attachment. So, it's there. And the connection's never not there. You can't be disconnected. It's not connecting and disconnecting. It's just so much noise pollution blocking that no light comes in. It's more like that. There's no assertion of darkness. It's you blocking it with all this stuff in life that you have all trying to figure out or work out or straighten out or, the doing part. It all happens sitting in the woods. Figuratively, in your mind, whatever. So we were talking about the early morning. If you wake up in the middle of the night or in the morning and it's a little bit funky, then right away I'm like, okay, give me input. I can't let my mind just go any willy-nilly way it wants and start getting into some things I'm worried about. So input instead. I listen to Abraham Hicks. She's always got a positive. She's always on the high vibration. And she's never not. She's such a, solid go-to. And then there's specific things she'll answer about and whatever else. But anyway, she's basically channeling and she gets in front of audiences, 50 times a year and has been doing it for 20, 30 years. I don't know. She's really good at it. But anyway, and she's just keeping the simple message, but much similar to what I'm saying. Just go within, focus on yourself, put some things down, and pick up some practice, there's a better name for it than just a practice, but you need new habits and all that kind of stuff. It's like trying to break an addiction. You got to do something totally different for a while. So if anybody knows about addictions, then it's apply the same thing here. Get yourself on the spiritual journey. Trees are coming down. You get yourself on a spiritual journey, you've really got to focus on you got to be going for a 180-degree change, like immediately. And then you'll just get what you can, but you got to really lean towards, like, put stuff down, take it easy, and fill your head with some positive stuff. And it's amazing, you won't know what anyway, I think the Abraham's the way to go. That, and I like to listen to music, but you need really the right vibe of music. That'll keep moving up in its vibration too. I think like, Carlos Santana type of music. But anyway, that sort of salsa-y type dance music, just music. But it makes you want to dance. And for me, that kind of works. I got to be up a little bit to put that in, but that's like another trick. I can turn my vibration up a little bit by listening to someone else who's at high vibration. Then I'm relaxing my mind in some kind of music, maybe meditative stuff. Sometimes middle of the night, I've got somebody saying positive stuff in my back of my head with some that I play some of that psycho music that supposed to raise your vibration by this energy processed vibration of sound, which is definitely coming our way. You should look into that science. Whether I'm getting it perfect through these headphones, I don't know if we worked out all the details exactly, and I'm not saying something big has happened, but it's definitely where we're going. Sound treatment for health is already a thing. But anyway, because we're vibrations, it's all energy waves. It's the same thing with healing. There's a whole lot more healers coming up on the planet right now. It's a whole bunch of special people popping right now. So it's a great time to be alive. It's a great time to get on the boat. And right now, it's like 2 for 1 in the aisle for spiritual awakening. Take your partner. I don't know where that came from. But it is an easier time, but based on the location of the planet in the galaxy, it's easier for us to connect. So, tune in, tap in, turn on, and everything will just run smoother for you in your life. And you'll do some of your more deeper, fun things. But first, you got to sit down, probably for a year. But what are you going to accomplish if you don't give it at least a year? But you got to fill your mind with this stuff throughout the day too, a little bit. So you do your work, and midday you should really check out, see some trees, be in the woods, be outside, and just eat your, I do a smoothie with, pretty much all fruit and lots of spirulina and barley grass juice powder. Who says it? Why is there such a thing? But anyway, medical medium, that's the guy I follow. Edgar Cayce was really into the real deep health stuff, like, your energy, your sense of self, your mental aptitude towards love was always a third of the problem in your body. There might be like a cure, and there might be some chemical things that have gone a little wonky, but a third of it is for sure your sense of things. He always cured people with those bits of information. But that's a whole third of the whole process of healing that we don't even want to talk about, let alone work on it. I can't even talk to people about it. Here we are on the video. But anyway, all right, so put in practice a spiritual journey toolkit. And mid-afternoon, get as blissful as you can for a little bit, go back and do your work. End of the day, put something funny on TV. Watch some comedian or something like that. Learn the art of laughing. You want to get better at laughing, you want to have your life more fun, you want to be a funnier person. Watch people who are funny. Or watch, be inspired. Watch the people on America's Got Talent. There's so much out there, all on YouTube. $15 a month. You get no commercials, and you can turn off your phone when you're using it. You don't have to hold the screen open and all that kind of funkiness that people live with on YouTube. It's $15. It's better than Google. It'll answer everything for you, and you can talk to people who are going through the same thing I'm going through. It's like, hey, anybody out there want to work up some competition on creative visualization or something fun? So, all right. Well, anyway, that's all I got to say about that, I think, said Forrest. But anyway, I do love you guys, and don't forget to throw love bombs, and don't forget to put some love on yourself. Take time. You're the most important person in the entire galaxy for you to be working on. No, none of your kids, none of your spouses, none of your best friends, none of your planet, none of your government officials, nobody needs anything from you. But you need to give everything you have to you. Build that self-worthiness, build that self-love, build that self-acceptance, build that understanding of who you really are. Build the practice of spending your day knowing that you're a vibrational energy ball that's only 0.001% solid matter. Just little particles in here swimming around so fast I feel solid. There's nothing solid to us. Nothing can happen to me. Ease up, but have fun. There's a lot we can do. Nothing's going to happen to you. There's no assertion of the dark side. There's only you blocking the light. Anyway, so take off the mask and come on outside. The woods are beautiful today. All right, guys. See ya.